I wish you bluebirds in the spring to hear your song, a song to sing, and then a kiss. More than this, I wish you love.
Welcome to the Forgiveness Solution. I'm your host, Reverend Misty Time. Today on the Forgiveness Solution, I am so excited and I can't wait to tell you why. But first of all, if you need to find me or want to find me, you can find Rev Misty at revmisty.com. Also, this podcast and many other amazing podcasts right there on the Sacred Stories stream. Also, if you run over to Sacred Stories Media, you'll also find a beautiful magazine. It's called The Owl, Wit and Wisdom for Now. I have some articles in there, and I would love it if you would just read them and give me some feedback. So let's get started about why I'm so excited today. Well, I have a little story. So recently, as you all know, I released my book. My book was released, The Forgiveness Solution, the step-by-step process to let it go. And in the Forgiveness Solution, we talk about the how to forgive. You know, both society and religion agree we should let it go. We should forgive, but no one tells us how. So I wrote the how, put it into an algorithm, and made a book out of it. And in that algorithm, I talk about tools, a toolbox for you, because we pick up unforgiveness over time, and it takes us a while to put it down. And in that toolbox, I talk about prayer. It has been such an important piece in my life and helped me on my own forgiveness journey. And so I really wanted to dig deep about prayer. Not prayer just within the Christian religion, but all over the world. And in my book, I recommend another book right there in the appendix, and it's How Do You Pray? And that's where we are today. I am honored and so excited because Celeste Yacaboni is here today, and she is the editor of this book, and she's going to talk about the journey and all the wonderful, wonderful prayers in the book and just tons of wisdom. I'm just so excited. And Celeste, can you please say hello to everyone?
Hello, I am thrilled to be here.
Oh, I probably not as excited as I am, and I am not on a lot of sleep. I flew in late, and I am telling you, I woke up excited even after just 4 hours of sleep. So, Celeste, when I was reading your bio, I'm so excited to share that we are both reverends or ministers, that we have an interfaith connection also, but you have such a wealth of knowledge, and you do such amazing things for the community and for the people out there. So before we get started about how you started the book, can you tell us more about yourself?
Yes, I am, as you mentioned, a minister of walking prayer, ordained by the Center for Sacred Studies. And walking prayer denotes a practice of walking in the world in dialogue with creation. So, like the original people who listened to nature and to the world around them as guidance from spirit, I feel that so strongly. I feel the synchronicity, and everything really is about spirit showing up in our life if we listen and pay attention. So I'm very excited to connect with you, Rev Misty. We were just talking about so many things that we have in common and that we share. So this is another form of synchronicity and, hearing the call of spirit that brought us together.
Yes,
I also have a practice in Santa Fe where I work with what I call spiritual embodiment, where we use modalities like prayer and Ho'oponopono and different meditations and essential oils, and we really dive deep into what is going on with us and then do something to embody these shifts in frequencies. And if in person, we could do something on the massage table, maybe abdominal massage. If it's a Skype session, we do some kind of movement or qigong. And so I'm very passionate about working with people, and it's always bringing more awareness, bringing this this, what I call spirituality, but bringing this energy into every aspect of our so-called ordinary lives.
Well, our lives are actually, we sometimes think they're ordinary, but they're extraordinary.
Right.
We have to sometimes remember that when we're doing our laundry, that it's extraordinary.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Celeste, let's talk about the book, because I am in love with it, and I want my listeners at the Forgiveness Solution to also understand why you chose to start this project. That's really a big one. So let's dive into that.
It all started with a vision. I woke up early one morning and I heard those words, "How do you pray?" It was huge. It was still dark outside, but everything was illuminated. And I heard these words, and the words went on. How do you pray? Is it an hour a week at a designated place of worship, or do you bring your prayers out to the streets? Do you pray like your parents' culture or tribe, or did you develop another way? Do you pray to God, or do you have another name, or no name at all? And as these words continued, I saw a kaleidoscope vision of all peoples of different cultures and religious practices in one beautiful circle of prayer and praise to the one life force, to the one essence, one unity. And it was so huge and so big. I knew I was meant to bring this question to the world. So I started asking, and I asked everyone, how do you pray? And I started collecting prayers. And I knew it would be a book. At one point I thought, wow, wouldn't it be great to ask our teachers, our political leaders, our people in the news, people, just everyone. And I started asking, and the responses came pouring in. People were very happy.
The responses that you received from spiritual leaders and thought leaders was breathtaking. I am jealous, actually, in a good, happy way, that you were able to connect with so many amazing leaders and spiritual leaders. I mean, I almost was teary when I saw Marianne Williamson in there, because she actually changed my life, though she doesn't know that yet. So out of that, tell me, how did you come up with such a variety of contributors?
Well, it is such a diverse group of amazing people who share so deeply and so beautifully. I trusted in divine timing. I knew this would be a book, and of course, every day I said yes. I said yes, yes, yes. Whatever twist or turn this took, I didn't know when it would come out, how it would come out. I didn't know about publishing, but I knew to keep asking the question, and one person would lead me to another. And it seemed as though when I started asking, it was more difficult to connect with people. But as I continued, things opened up, and suddenly someone recommended someone or gave me their email address. When I connected with Andrew Harvey, we had a beautiful, beautiful talk and sharing. And by the end of our talk, he was giving me, names and numbers, like, oh, you should ask this person. And so that was, so generous. And the first person I connected with in the email invitation, I asked, how do you pray? And I'm putting this book together, and I would love for you to be part of it. And if you would rather, we could do a phone conversation. The first person I heard back from about that phone conversation was Rabbi Zalman Schachter Shalomi. He said, yeah, let's make a date. And I was, oh, wow, I was so excited, but I thought, what am I going to say? Of course, I realized all I had to say was, how do you pray? And that was the door opening, and we went deeper and deeper into that. So I really trusted in the people that were going to be part of it. I didn't have a major plan. I wasn't looking for a representative from every religion or every tradition. I trusted, and really followed the movement of spirit.
Well, your trusting turned into a beautiful book that is so rich with so many traditions. And I know you said you didn't search out all those traditions. It happened for you. Can you tell me more about the interfaith and the interspirituality of the prayers in the book?
Yeah, that was so fascinating to me, how open and accepting we are. People are. Some people are very much involved in their religion, in their religious tradition, and they love that, and they shared that. Yet in their sharing, there was such acceptance and an invitation to feel their passion and their commitment and participation, that it was lovely. Yeah. They were inviting me, inviting us to try it on, to check it out. And that's how I feel about interspirituality. Interfaith, I think of often as exploring other religions, comparing them. There's a lot of dialogue. How can we come together as separate religions? And what is being birthed really as interspirituality is a oneness that we all are, and we participate in different forms of prayer and different religions, but it is a permeable membrane that between them. So there is a way in. So like when I had this vision and I told my husband, and we were, so committed to this. We opened our home to inviting people to come and experience and to participate in different ways of prayer. People would come and lead a ceremony, lead their traditional prayer, and we would all participate in it. We would all participate in it and learn about it, and it has become our own for a lot of people and a lot of traditions. Learning about something like here in New Mexico, we put up a sweat lodge and had Native American ceremonies, and we learned to smudge, to cleanse ourselves by burning sage and cedar and these very medicinal and sacred herbs. And these practices carry over into my daily life, where I smudge daily. And it was so beautiful that way, that people shared their own way and opened it up. So many people have a spiritual but not religious outlook or practice. So many people that was really beautiful to see, that people were really open into participating in many, many different traditions and honoring them.
Well, I want to thank you for letting people experience, because that's how we change thought processes, right? Our experience, it like imprints on us, and it changes how we may have felt about something. And lots of times we just don't know, so we don't know how to, relate. And being able to find, and you said it, the way in, is so beautiful to so many other traditions, and prayer is really a connection of all major religions. And I talk about that with forgiveness too, because forgiveness is a common theme in all major religions and our society. So that's why prayer was really important for me to include in my book, not only because it's important to me and I want to share that, but because I feel that our connections are so many and we don't realize that. And one is prayer and forgiveness, of course. And when you're talking about prayer and forgiveness, what's your take on that? Where do you come from, and what did you learn?
Well, I have been exploring, of course, what is prayer? I mean, what is this? It's like, yeah, how do you do it? But what is it? And I feel it is a awareness, more of a prayerness than actually doing something. Mm-hmm. It's awareness, again, that that is amplified in all aspects of life, where we feel a connection or a oneness with something larger than ourselves, but ourself is included in it. So we are larger than these small selves that we sometimes think ourselves as. And so this larger connection is really what I call prayer. And what I've learned from the book in collecting hundreds and hundreds of prayers and 129 of these amazing luminaries in the book, that we are all part of a prayer field, an energetic flow of love for each other, for ourselves, for the earth, and for the divine, for this oneness, this connection of something greater than ourselves. So here we are, all part of this field, and we amplify it with this commitment to being aware, to walking in dialogue with all of creation. And being aware is feeling our feelings. So often we get busy and we're moving from one thing to another, and we don't always feel our authentic feelings and what we're going through. And if we allow ourselves that time, that sacred space to feel, then we're going to have much more compassion. We're going to be able to feel each other as well. And oftentimes if we're feeling ourselves, we feel that there's not too much separation. We're all going through the same things. And that's how it is for forgiveness. I've come full circle, starting out in my church and going to confession, and at one point as a teenager having an experience where I became so aware that there was a priest and he was actually yelling at me, and I felt, wait a minute, this isn't right here. Like, what am I even sorry for? I'm confessing missing Mass on Sunday, but what am I really sorry for? And that opened it up. And my explorations for years and years and years that continue to this day are about coming full circle and being able to forgive myself once I am aware of what I'm sorry for.
You know, forgiving ourselves is the hardest. I think that we're able to forgive others, have more compassion for others than we have for ourselves. And in our prayers, and I love that you said that you can feel your feelings. It's that moment that you're open, and whether that is in a traditional church where you are gathered with others, or whether it's private prayer or ceremony, like you said, smudging, anything that helps you with that connection, it's a healing process, especially when we are hurt and are needing to both either forgive ourselves or forgive someone else, or we want to let go of those negative feelings. Prayer can help fill that up, and you're just so correct in the whole feeling the feelings. And in prayer, that's when you cry and you smile and you say thank you, and then you reach out all the things that you need to do in prayer. And that's why it's so important in the forgiveness process.
I have a couple little quotes that I wrote here that I took from the book. Can I read them? Just a couple sentences.
Honored. I'd be so honored. Please do.
All right. The first one is by Michael Gelb, and he wrote the book How to Think Like Leonardo da Vinci, and about 12 other books as well. And he is going on to share how he prays. And in one sentence he says, I say silent grace before every meal. I review the day's blessings and forgiveness opportunities each night before I sleep. Well, I just love that, because at the end of the day, we have that reflection. If we aren't too exhausted and we hit the bed and we're just asleep, but to take those precious moments to actually reflect on the day and what I am thankful for, and, what I could have maybe done better, and forgiveness opportunities. How powerful is that?
That is so, forgiveness opportunities. I'm going to have to use that, actually.
Right, yeah. It's forgiveness opportunities. Who to forgive,
right.
And who would I like forgiveness from?
Right, exactly. And then the lessons learned from that, right? Because forgiveness is so much about lessons and learning and not repeating, or repeating kindness and so much. So that was really beautiful.
Yeah. And the other one is Mark Waldman. And he starts out by saying, and he has many books as well. One is How Does God Change the Brain? And his first sentence is, how does a secular neuroscience researcher pray? And and then
what was the response to that?
By it's it's a lot longer, but this is what I'm going to share here, is by combining as many practices as I can throughout the day and creating my own. I'll wake up and go to sleep with a brief forgiveness, gratitude, and loving kindness meditation.
That's really beautiful, and something that, and I'm the forgiveness expert, and I don't do that often enough, believe it or not. I get that busy thing where you lay your head down and your eyes are closed, and that is really, really beautiful. And thank you for sharing both of those. I think the Forgiveness Solution listener is just taking that all in, and is so important in our process, especially when we're really stuck in that anger mode of unforgiveness, which is, by the way, as you said, feeling your feelings, totally normal. Sometimes we beat ourselves up for feeling those feelings, don't we?
Yes. Yeah, and that adds to it. Then we're guilty. We feel guilty for feeling our feelings. Right. And it just adds layer by layer that can go on for lifetimes, certainly the lineage from, our ancestors, like what we pass on.
What we teach our children. And could you imagine the power if we could teach our children what forgiveness really is and what it is not, how to do it, and including how to pray that's, worldwide, that prayer is a connection. Could you imagine the next generation if they had those tools? Yeah, it would be so exciting, and I'm always just so excited about teaching new tools to people, because if they don't know what they don't know, and this can touch their heart. And you talked about your living room and learning new practices and sweat lodges, and how did all of this, the book, everything, help you in your journey?
Well, every step along the way. Again, it was about trust, about saying yes to life, things that show up, embracing them and trusting in them. Sometimes maybe it isn't quite as clear. This was big, and I never doubted that I was not supposed to be doing this, and I'm supposed to be doing something else. This was obvious. This was my mission, and it was before my iPhone, so I actually would go to my office and then come home and get on the computer and see what came in that day, what prayers. And like you said, I was brought to tears. Mm-hmm. These were incredibly beautiful, and feeling the generosity, the beautiful, deep sharings, and the generosity of people to contribute and to feel the need for this. I think a lot of the fear of the other is essentially the belief in the illusion of separation, that we are separate from God. We are separate from this something bigger than ourselves. Whatever it is, cosmic universal energy, whatever you call it. But there's a fear of I'm separate, I'm alone, and I'm small, and I'm afraid. And when we get into that mode, then there's, some fear and could be mistrust of the other because they might be different than me. And if I don't know that they're like me or they have different beliefs, it might be a threat in some way. Mm-hmm. So we, have based our civilization, our societies on this, and it grows and perpetuates. And with prayer and sharing the prayers, we could see that that person who maybe dresses differently and, looks really different isn't so different in how they actually pray. And often we think the religions are so different and, people fighting wars in the name of God. But when it comes down to it and we actually share and open up, we're all doing kind of the same thing. We all want the best for ourselves, for our families, for our loved ones. We want to be safe. We want shelter. We want food, the very basic things. And we want to feel connected. We want to be loved. And when you feel that love amongst each other, then it grows. And, we feel this love with something bigger, the love of life, the love of God, the love of the universe. So I really have learned and this trust in myself and in all people. I'm feeling this prayer field, this beautiful, beautiful connection. And we pump this with our thoughts, with our beliefs, with our practices, with our forgiveness. We're really putting energy, circulating it in the prayer field.
Oh, I am so happy that we are on the same prayer field and can share that, because not only was your passion and your vision, it came to life in such a beautiful way. And the contributors, again, everyone, please get this book, How Do You Pray? Because the contributors in the book it's breathtaking and it's moving. And again, it just like Celeste said, it shows our connection, that we all are praying for the same thing. And I mentioned that in my book, that we pray for our families, we pray for health, we pray for prosperity, and we pray to God or the universe or whatever your word is that you use for that, for support and love and help and healing and forgiveness. Celeste, thank you so much for joining me today and for sharing the love of prayer with the Forgiveness Solution listeners. If somebody wants to find you and get the book, where would they find that and find you?
Well, my website, howdoyoupray.com. On the website, you can order the book. You can find out other places to order the book as well. And also, there are some free excerpts from the book you can download. There's a free 5-minute excerpt from the Ho'oponopono chant. And it talks a lot about my work, my prayer shops that I offer, and also Skype sessions. I have a beautiful essential oil blend called Prayer Anoint that you could read about and order it. So it's all there on howdoyoupray.com.
Oh, thank you so much. And also, I want to encourage everyone to pick up How Do You Pray, but also my new book, The Forgiveness Solution, the step-by-step process to let it go. I talk about prayer in there as a tool on your forgiveness journey because we need all the support we can get, right? So
yes.
please look for Celeste, look for me right there on all the social media, Facebook, Instagram, all that wonderful stuff. Also, RevMisty.com. I look forward to hearing back from everyone who listened in today, and let me know what you think about how do you pray and also forgiveness. It's such an important subject, and I love how they just mesh together. And I want to thank you, everyone, for joining me. And also, please find my podcast right here, The Forgiveness Solution, on the Sacred Stories stream. And I look forward to hearing from everyone. Have a blessed day. And Celeste, thank you so much for joining me today and sharing prayer.
I wish you bluebirds in the spring to hear your song, a song to sing. And then a kiss, more than this, I wish you love.